The human soul is irresistibly drawn into the investigation of its own mystery. From the beginning of time, mankind has tried to understand his own creation. Great religions have come into existence, religions that have changed man's consciousness, religions that have changed the very face of the earth. Every major faith is split into numerous sects and creeds. Confusion reigns where there should be unity and the peaceful satisfaction of the yearning heart. Is it possible that the author of this vast creation would reveal one principle to one group and yet another principle to others? Because we have failed to study all the religions of the world as a whole, we have so far been unable to discover the mighty law of nature responsible for the religious impulse. Dogma and tradition remain, and the source has long been lost. Time and again, great spiritual leaders such as Pandit Gopi Krishna will appear on the horizon whenever mankind is in dire need of guidance at the most crucial time in its history. The Pandit, as all great spiritual leaders, has said there is a single underlying principle responsible for the religious and moral impulse. This principle, called Kundalini, was also known to the ancients thousands of years ago. This energy, which has always been symbolized as a coiled-up serpent, is situated at the base of the spine. The records of Egypt, South America, China, and even early Christianity used this symbol. The pharaoh's headdress, the plumed serpent of the Incas, all refer to this secret knowledge. When this energy rises from the base of the spine and enters the brain, it results in a higher state of consciousness. A dedicated group of North Americans traveled to the mountains of Kashmir to learn the secrets of this lost knowledge. Here is the story of their journey.
Ladies and gentlemen, somebody has a birthday on this plane today. And as we have done in the past, we always celebrate birthday with a big happy song. Pat Shipley has a birthday today. So let us sing Happy Birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear heart. Happy birthday.
The sun was rising, and so were our weary spirits as we arrived in Delhi. Our year waiting was almost over, but first, the official press conference. What are these North Americans all about?
And the latest temperature is 25 degrees centigrade or 77 degrees Fahrenheit.
About 7 years ago, I was involved in an accident where I had been deprived of oxygen for over several minutes, and I was declared dead. It was 7 years ago. And during those few elated minutes, what I visualized and what I have seen and perceived changed my life 180 degrees. I had seen colors, and I had seen lights, and I had seen, to some degree, feelings and consciousness that was not available in any books, nor was any guru or lama in the Western world was able to tell me what I have seen.
But it's a proved medical fact that there's a difference between clinical death and actual death. You know, where the oxygen is still in the brain cells, and as long as that presence is there in the brain cells, a person can be revived. Don't you think it was rather an emotional trip or something to do with your subconscious that made you see these colors?
I think the point is, and this is something that Pandit Gopi Krishna is talking about too, I believe, that it's a very real experience, okay, that something biological is also involved. And Joe went around the world and he talked to many different people, and no one was able to tell him the quality of his experience except for this one man, right? Which means that maybe he also experienced, or he was aware of the state of consciousness that he was involved with, okay? Not whether he was actually dead or not. I mean, I don't know if anybody could ever say it, right? But he experienced something in his own mind which is in a very real sense real to other people too, because they have a similar type of experience.
You say you reach a certain state of consciousness.
That's right.
And you say that it was not explained by anybody else.
That's right.
After my experience, I decided that I no longer wanted a businessman. I no longer wanted to have these financial rewards. Money had no longer had any interest in my life whatsoever. Because when I changed so drastically by applying simple principles in life, I decided to form an organization which is called PSI, People Searching Inside. It is a spiritual organization based on simple principles that when you follow a certain way of life, one can change his life drastically. And only several years later, 2 or 3 years later, have I met Pandit Gopi Krishna. And then I formed, additionally, to PSI, the Canadian Psychic Research Foundation, and the Kundalini Research Institute of Canada. What we hope to prove in the near future, with a proper investigation, we're inviting scientists, we're inviting people who carry a great deal of honor as well as responsibility and recognition in the world to come and investigate us. What we're doing now is to prove mankind there are equally important spiritual laws that you cannot prove instantly. However, if you apply some of these principles daily, you will see the ramification of it, and perhaps 2 or 3 months later you'll see the results. And I know that someday this will be proven. Okay, it's only a matter of time.
And finally, in a garden filled with sunshine, we greeted the man we had come so far to see. The man whose writings had lifted our hearts and given us hope for the future took the stage, humbly accepting our affection and warming us with that unforgettable smile. It is difficult to describe the kindness, the goodness, the light shining from his eyes.
Distinguished panel, distinguished press, ladies and gentlemen.
And finally, in a garden filled with sunshine, we greeted the man we had come so far to see. The man whose writings had lifted our hearts and given us hope for the future took the stage, humbly accepting our affection and warming us with that unforgettable smile. It is difficult to describe the kindness, the goodness, the light shining from his eyes.
Distinguished panel, distinguished press, ladies and gentlemen. I represent 234 Canadians today who are part of one of the greatest spiritual movements this earth has ever seen, the Kundalini Research Institute in the world. Today we are a very small group, but I know in my heart, and most of us do, that in the next 2 decades we will be the largest spiritual movement that has ever existed on the face of this earth. The
Kundalini Research Institute of Canada is affiliate of the Central Institute for Kundalini Research in Srinagar. So I'd like to give you a little history as how all this began. One day I was invited to come to India. The gentleman who introduced me to this, who is today a president and founder of Kundalini Research Foundation in the United States, Mr. Gene Kiefer, who told me, when you go to India, why don't you make a little side trip and go to Kashmir and talk to a gentleman by the name of Pandit Gopi Krishna. So I came to Srinagar, and out of the 15 minutes that Pandit had granted me, turned into an hour and a half, 2 hours, and finally 3 hours, one of the most loving, kind conversations the two of us had. Not only did Pandit Gopi Krishna told me what I have seen when I died, but he also explained me the colors and the meaning of the light. It was this time that I recognized Pandit Gopi Krishna belonging to a higher order of man that I have never met before in my entire life. Now, before I turn the microphone to the next speaker, I'd like to talk about something which is very dear in my heart. And most of you wondered, what is this here? Ladies and gentlemen, this is an award, and it's called Genie. Genie is obviously for short for a genius.
This Genie, an award given to those outstanding individuals who have been of great service to humanity, is presented to the Pandit. The inscription bears these words: "It is with honor and joy that people searching inside and the Kundalini Research Institute of Canada, on behalf of the people of Canada, present to you, Pandit Gopi Krishna, this Genie Award for your unparalleled contribution to mankind and your generous sharing of the gift of light with this and future generations."
It is a matter of great happiness to me to extend a warm welcome to our friends in Canada who have undertaken a long and arduous journey to participate in the conference we are having here in Kashmir about Kundalini. I do not claim to be an enlightened individual. I do not claim to be a guru. I do not claim to be a teacher. I only say that through the grace of heaven, this poor, frail, and weak body was vouchsafed a sudden transformation which affixed an X-ray apparatus to my brain, and since then I have been able to see, able to hear, able to feel, and able to smell what is denied to the normal human vision and the human brain. And what has been revealed to me by grace without any effort or striving or even merit on my part is that the human brain has already reached a state of perfection where a higher state of consciousness can be manifested with certain disciplines and exercises, and that the goal of human life is to reach this higher dimension of consciousness, which is alluring, blissful, and majestic beyond comparison. A man who has this vision, I can assure you, will not change his position for all the wealth of the earth and for all the seats of power in the greatest empires of the world. It is an amazing state of consciousness. This may occur to you as fantastic, as Copernicus' theory that the earth was revolving round the sun was unpalatable to the scholars of the time who were steeped in the geocentric theory of the universe. But in the course of these few centuries, this doctrine has changed not only the face of the earth, but also the life of man. In the same way, the theory of Kundalini, confirmation of the view that the human brain is already perfected and designed by nature for a higher performance, for a higher dimension of consciousness, will create revolutions in all the branches of human thought. There will be then no room for the imbalances, for the very unequal social and political orders, for wars, for bloody revolutions and riots in the world. For wars, revolutions and riots, including the French and the Russian revolution, are a part of the evolutionary process of our brain. The theory of Kundalini, confirmation of the view that the human brain is already perfected and designed by nature for a higher performance, for a higher dimension of consciousness, will create revolutions in all the branches of human thought. There will be then no room for the imbalances, for the very unequal social and political orders, for wars, for bloody revolutions and riots in the world. For wars, revolutions and riots, including the French and the Russian revolution, are a part of the evolutionary process of our brain. At a certain degree of development, just as a child cannot fit in the clothes prepared for him, similarly, the adult human mind cannot fit in the social order or political system devised at a lower state of evolution. What happens then is that revolutionaries come on the scene to demolish that order and to usher in a new era for the further evolution of the brain. We are on the threshold of a similar revolution. We are on the threshold of a similar occurrence on the earth. We are on the threshold of a new discovery that will make wars, revolutions, riots, racial discrimination, hate, and all such anti-evolutionary ideas and doctrines impossible on the earth. There is no other way. There is no other way to clear the atmosphere of the world of tension, fear, hatred, and anxiety unless it is demonstrated that there is a God on the earth, that there is a controlling intelligence behind the universe, that there are spiritual laws as strict and as inflexible as the laws of matter. But I can assure you that at no distant date, this one revelation will cause a revolution in science, politics, philosophy, and all other branches of knowledge which have no precedent in history. We have exceeded the time already, and I think also some of our friends might be feeling tired by the ordeal of having to sit for several hours to listen. But I am sure that our friends from Canada are used to this long
Nishad, the warm, loving, and astonishingly melodic welcome of the Kashmiri people.
Here in a spectacular meadow in the foothills of the Himalayas, we would spend the next 6 days immersed in the joy and wisdom of Gopi Krishna.
Begin to comprehend. We'll see the people we are truly meant to be. Love has a way to hold our hearts as one, and the road we're on is often lonely. Those who have ears don't always want to hear. We have one goal and one desire only. Sweet journey of light, bring us closer, bring us home.
Delegates of the press, distinguished panel, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to officially open the Spiritual Congress in August the 14th, 1977 in Nishat, Kashmir, India. Residing, ladies and gentlemen, Pandit Gopi Krishna.
Once again, I extend my heartiest welcome to you, to this holy place which is known as Gopi Tirth. The ancient name of this spring close by is Gupta Tirth. Gupta means hidden, and Tirth means a place of pilgrimage, a spring. But the word Gupta has been corrupted to Gopi. So, by a strange coincidence, this place bears my name. I do not think there is any coincidence in this world. Everything is ordered and planned. I purchased this piece of land perhaps more than 40 years ago. I never imagined, I never dreamed at that time that a day would come when it would be used for the purpose of these discourses, and that a party of loving, dedicated, and beautiful friends would come from a distance like Canada to sit here and to join in discourses about spiritual knowledge. It is a matter of immense pleasure to me to see all of you and to be one with you here in this hermitage on the Himalayas, and once again to repeat what happened thousands of years ago when seekers after knowledge came to Himalayas to pick up the wisdom which still persists in the ancient scriptural books of my country. Even when Mr. Dupont met me years ago, I could not imagine that such a monumental event will occur, and that a large body of friends, motivated by one purpose, would assemble here to talk, to listen, and to discourse about things of which the world stands in the direst need at present.
Pandit Gopi Krishna was born in 1903 in Gheru, a small village in Kashmir. He learned at an early age that self-discipline and meditation might be the key to a higher state of life. At the age of 34, after 17 years of faithful meditation, this divine energy inherent in all mankind was awakened and elevated him to a superconscious individual, opening other channels of perception in the brain. This knowledge is the same perennial wisdom attributed to Jesus, Moses, Mohammed, Krishna, Buddha, and a score of others. He leads a simple life, devoting his energies to Kundalini research. His son, Jagdish, brought Joseph Dupont to his birthplace.
You're the oldest son of Pandit Gopi Krishna. And this is a little village called Gheru. And this is the house where the Pandit Gopi Krishna was born a little over 73 years ago.
Yes, that's right.
I can't help comparing the same situation where Jesus was born. The scenery and the setting is almost the same. The cows, the chickens, the animals, the mud, and the very simple life. You know, when you see some of these little boys around, you can't help thinking that about 70 years ago, he was just one of these little boys, like muddy and dirty and playing with the chickens and the cows.
Something like that. Since I have seen here, there's been very little change, except that this house has been rebuilt.
This is pretty new, right?
Well, maybe 15, 20 years.
15, 20 years ago. But he was actually on this corner here where he was born.
Yes, that's right. Where in that corner there.
Right over here.
Yes.
It's the peace about this place.
Yes. Don't you feel so?
Oh, it's incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce the former Minister of Health and Family Planning, and presently the Member of Parliament of the official opposition, Dr. Karen Singh.
Pandit Gopi Krishna ji and friends, the Kundalini movement is of tremendous importance for the future of the human race. Of course, Pandit ji has been speaking to you about Kundalini for the last few days, and it would be presumptuous for me to go into any detail on this, except to say that although the Kundalini has been important always, I think the present is a juncture of crisis for the human race. Science and technology have given man tremendous power, but power, the Shakti, can always be used for good or for evil. And if it is used for benign purposes, it is possible through this power to abolish poverty and want and ignorance and disease and illiteracy from the face of the earth. But if used for malign purposes, it will abolish not only the human race, but probably all life on this planet. Now, it can be argued that there are billions of planets with life, and therefore perhaps it won't make terribly much difference if life ceases on one planet. Perhaps from the cosmic point of view that may be correct, but from our point of view, certainly that is not an acceptable proposition. But there is no doubt that it is with the works of Pandit Gopi Krishna that the concept of Kundalini has once again become clearly focused in the mind of the human race in our day and age. And it is extraordinary what a wide and deep impact his books have had all over the world. And the research project of which he made mention, which I set up, was in the National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences in Bangalore, where you have neurologists neurosurgeons, psychologists, psychiatrists, and philosophers. And we got them all together. We have an 11 or 12 man governing body with Panditji on it, which is the guiding body for this project, and which can be unique. I welcome you as shall I say, a fellow seeker, as a person who is deeply interested in the concepts that you have gathered here to study, and who has deep regard for Pandit Gopi Krishna and all that it is that he is trying to do. I'm sure that you will benefit considerably from this visit, and I only hope that with Panditji's blessings, more and more such gatherings will be held, not only in Kashmir, but elsewhere in India and the world, and that the Kundalini movement will sweep to a triumphant conclusion before the end of this century. Thank you.
If we found the mode of transportation fascinating, what must the Kashmiris have thought of these exuberant Westerners exploring their exotic sights? We traveled many miles to never-before-seen places, and on one unusual jaunt, we came upon an ancient Hindu temple, where it is said the most amazing psychic phenomena occurs.
Okay, why can you just lift it with 11 fingers, not 12, not 13, not 6?
People at 12 will get it, it will not come up.
No, but it has to be exactly 11 people
Yes,
plus the stone.
it will surely
It
come
makes
up.
it 12.
Surely come up.
So there's a psychic phenomenon.
After some discussion, we finally got the idea of what happens. It seems that if 11 people place one finger each under a stone weighing about 90 pounds and repeat the word ka, which means 11 in Kashmiri, the stone will rise quite easily. Some of the local men agreed to show us the phenomenon, and we watched in amazement. But when we tried with 10 or 12 or any other number but 11, it just didn't work. Remarkable indeed.
No, 11 only. Move back.
It was sad to see these sadhus smoking dope. It is their belief that they can reach heaven by these artificial means. You can look among the millions of drug users around the world today, and you will not find one who has reached higher consciousness in this way.
Wherever you go, wherever you talk, wherever you make efforts, please tell those who listen to you that we are presenting to you a scientific discovery about the mind and the brain, and are offering to abide by the decision of those who are engaged on this investigation. If you are convinced that this is the right way, if you are convinced that this is the basic teaching of all religions, and even the basic teaching of science, because science believes in evolution, then follow us, then help us. We are not telling you something which is not proved, which just comes out of our own fancy, but we are placing a scientific discovery, a scientific knowledge before you, which combines spirituality and empirical science in one movement which is for the greatest good of human beings. That is all I have to say today now, so we can start with it.
Pandit, how do you feel about birth control for someone on a spiritual path?
In the present condition of world population, there seems to be no harm if healthy and safe methods are used for birth control, provided the maternal instinct of the partner should also find satisfaction.
Pandit, do all the luminaries have the power to heal? If so, why don't they use it?
Whatever power the illuminated have comes from heaven, and they can do what is ordained for them to do.
Pandit, what is the relationship between karma and disease?
If I have time, I will dilate on karma. But to this particular question, I can say that rigid laws which are unfathomable yet rule the life of man both in health and disease.
Pandit, you speak of the third and the fourth dimension. Is there a dimension beyond the fourth dimension?
Progress in the expansion of consciousness can be infinite. There is no end to dimensions that may be unfolded in the ages to come. Remember, man has to stay on the earth for millions of years. And unless he has new worlds to explore, new heights to reach, he will stagnate and degenerate. Hence, heaven has already provided for him an infinite ocean of consciousness which he can explore as he grows in wisdom and knowledge. There are other dimensions beyond the third and the fourth.
Pandit, in the past, many luminaries consumed meat, mutton, beef, pork, and so on. Why is it then that in one of the countries with the greatest spiritual history, many of the local people and people in other parts of the country do not consume these types of food?
It is their choice.
Our last day in Nishad was so beautiful and so filled with happiness and closeness. We wept that day as the Pandit spoke hopefully of the future and our ability to avert global disaster if we would practice the law of love. We said goodbye to this dear and loving friend who encouraged us to live a life that would promote unity, love, and peace in the world.
Your presence and your radiation, full of love, full of an eagerness to learn more about this knowledge, has inspired me to reveal some of the deepest secrets of Kundalini.
I know I speak on behalf of everybody here. And the knowledge that you have shared with us this week, we have taken to heart. And you can be assured for the rest of our natural lives that we shall do everything possible to carry out this message. We thank you again. Thank you.
In conclusion, let me thank each one of you from the core of my heart. It is perhaps difficult for you to imagine what I feel. I am overwhelmed by all your affection and love, by the love and affection of your leaders, by the love and affection of every member of the group. And I am sure we will part as very close friends, bound by a spiritual bond which may persist through all the vicissitudes of time and leave a mark on history of a movement that sacrificed everything and made every possible effort to avert a disaster and to guide humanity on the right path. With these words, and again expressing my heartfelt gratitude to all of you, I end the discourse.
The lifelong companion who has supported him so faithfully all these years, Mrs. Gopi Krishna.
I'm Suzanne Capriol, and I work in the Kitchener PSI office. I worked there since the middle of March, and before that I was working on a PhD in biochemistry at the University of Waterloo. I became involved with PSI 2.5 years ago, and after reading Gopi Krishna's books and having an opportunity to meet him and hear his philosophy of life and the knowledge that comes through him firsthand, I couldn't resist the opportunity.
I enjoyed meeting Gopi Krishna very much. He had been sort of a character, and then all of a sudden he became real, and everything that I'd heard about him just materialized, and he was just an incredible, incredible person.
It was some ways when I think about it, when we came back, it was like a dream. We went over to India and we sat in front of one of the most incredible men who is alive today.
Oh, I feel so terrific ever since I got back. And I feel for the first time in my life I am going in the right direction.
The moment that I met Gopi Krishna, the feelings came to the surface. On the very first day he was there, because the tears were always very close. My feelings were just overwhelming in the whole 10 days that we were with him.
I discovered how close I was to 234 people.
and that closeness we could share with strangers, with people in India whom we had never met before, and they could become a part of our group.
There's no clear-cut beginning, and so far no difference. All my life's a circle, sunrise and sundown. The moon rolls through the nighttime till the daybreak comes around. All my life's a circle, but I can't tell you why. The seasons spin round again, the years keep rolling.
The Bible is obviously one of the greatest metaphysical books in the world, but I think over a long period of time, with dogma and organized religion, people have gotten away completely from what it really means. And perhaps until today, man has never evolved to the point where it could really understand what the Bible was saying. And maybe now is a new time to reinterpret it and maybe get closer to the true meanings of some of the things that it says. And this is one reason that I think this organization has so much to offer.